Imagine a world where the loudest voices decide who matters, and the quietest disappear without a trace. This is where every villain's story begins. Not with violence, not with chaos, but with silence. Every monster we fear today was once a person we ignored yesterday. No one is born wanting to break the world. The desire to destroy often comes from a world that destroyed them first. And that raises a difficult question. How many villains are just wounded people we failed to notice? The Joker's story isn't about choosing darkness, it's about being pushed there, slowly, painfully, and socially. The madness we see at the end of the journey is just the echo of a question no one ever answered. Do I matter to anyone? Alienation doesn't appear all at once. It begins with small cracks in someone's identity. A joke that no one laughs at. A moment of humiliation brushed off as no big deal. A cry for help disguised as a smile. We call these moments trivial, but in the mind of someone starving for connection, they become seeds of resentment. Seeds that grow into a worldview. When a person no longer believes in acceptance, they start believing in performance. If they can't be loved, they will be noticed. Ask yourself, how often do we reward authenticity? And how often do we reward the performance? Humans are tribal. Rejection isn't about hurt feelings, it's about survival. When someone feels invisible, their sense of purpose collapses. And when purpose disappears, anything that it creates impact starts to look meaningful, even destruction. Imagine being so unseen that chaos becomes the only language the world listens to. Society loves celebrating success, but hides suffering in the shadows. We call broken people strange or unstable, without ever asking what broke them. We punish the wounded, then wonder why they bleed on everyone around them. The Joker is not a symbol of madness. He is a symbol of the final stage of invisibility. The mask he wears is a scream painted into a smile. His way of saying, if I must hide to exist, then I will make the mask unforgettable. Here is the hardest question of all. What hurts more? Being hated or being ignored? Sometimes the difference between a citizen and a criminal is one moment of compassion that never happened. One person who didn't listen. One chance the world couldn't be bothered to give. Villains do not rise because they want power. They rise because the world refused to make space for them. So look around. Who is sitting alone? Who is fading into the background? Who is hiding behind a smile you never really questioned? Because the truth is simple. Society creates its own villains every time it chooses silence over empathy. What happens to a person when their real self is never enough? In a world obsessed with image, identity becomes a performance, not an expression. We don't become who we truly are. We become what others will tolerate, what others will accept, what others will notice. Every villain wears a mask, but here is the uncomfortable truth. So does everyone else. The Joker's mask is dramatic, painted, terrifying. Ours are quiet, invisible, socially acceptable. We hide behind confidence. We hide behind jokes. We hide behind the illusion of everything is fine. But internally, we are begging for someone to look deeper. Identity begins as a mirror. We learn who we are through the eyes of others. Their reactions shape our beliefs. Their acceptance shapes our confidence. Their rejection shapes our fears. So ask yourself, if the world only reflects back your flaws, how long before you believe you are nothing but flaws? The mask starts small, a fake smile, a silent yes when you want to say no, a laugh to avoid awkwardness, a personality built to survive the moment, not express the truth. Psychologists call this identity foreclosure. It's when someone stops searching for who they are because the journey is too painful. Instead, they adopt a persona that works. And slowly, the performance becomes the personality. The Joker didn't wake up one day deciding to become chaos. He spent years trying to be acceptable, trying to be loved, trying to be seen. When the world didn't respond, the mask became his strategy. The laughter stopped being an expression. It became armor. He turned pain into a punchline, because tragedy hurts less when you treat it like a joke. So here's a question that goes deeper. What would you become if the only way to be seen was to become the monster they already feared? Villains don't crave destruction. They crave recognition. They want someone, anyone, to look their way and say, "I see you." Not the mask, not the performance, the person underneath. But society rarely rewards authenticity. It rewards noise, it rewards shock, it rewards extremes, and over time, a wounded person learns that being gentle gets them ignored, while being chaotic gets them acknowledged. In that moment, the mask becomes more real than the face beneath it. The Joker archetype exists because the world teaches people that vulnerability is a weakness and performance is survival. We don't let the broken cry openly. We tell them to smile, to be strong, to get over it. So what do? They turn their suffering into a spectacle. And here is the tragedy behind the laughter. The mask that protects them also destroys them. So look at your own reflection today. Look at the smile you wear. Look at the tone you use. Ask yourself, is this who I am or who the world needs me to be? Because behind every villain is a human being who learned to survive by pretending. There's a moment in every villain's life when pain stops being a memory and starts becoming a belief. The past stops living behind them and begins living inside them. This is the point where suffering turns into a philosophy. We often assume madness is random. We assume cruelty is born from the desire to hurt others. But what if cruelty is just someone's final attempt to explain their pain by making others feel it too? Here is the truth we rarely want to face. Trauma doesn't just break people. It teaches them. It gives them a worldview. It creates rules. Pain becomes their logic. For the Joker, tragedy wasn't just an event. It was education. It taught him that kindness is unreliable, that love can disappear without warning, that hope is a trap, and laughter is a weapon. So ask yourself a deeper question. If everything you ever trusted betrayed you, what would you start believing instead? Psychologists call this a cognitive distortion, a scar that rewrites the way you see humanity. Instead of thinking, some people failed me, the mind decides, everyone will fail me. Instead of thinking, I was hurt, it becomes, the world hurts. And once pain becomes truth, cruelty becomes justice. In a broken mind, revenge isn't evil, it's equality. If I suffered without reason, why should anyone be allowed to escape the lesson? This is where the philosophy forms. You laughed at my pain, then you will laugh with me. Twisted logic, but logic nonetheless. The villain stops asking for understanding. Now they want validation. Not empathy, validation. They don't want comfort. They want agreement that the world is just as cruel as they've experienced it. Here is the tragedy behind the violence. Villains don't want power over others. They want power over their own story. They want to rewrite the narrative where they were helpless. They want control over the chaos that once crushed them. So the pain becomes a mission, a belief system, a philosophy. If suffering is universal, then suffering is fair. But here's a question that cuts through the darkness. How many villains were created because no one ever helped them find a meaning in their pain beyond destruction? Healing requires connection. Trauma needs context. Without a safe place to understand their suffering, people internalize it. They isolate, they sharpen it, they turn it into identity. And in the absence of compassion, pain becomes clarity. The Joker doesn't laugh because he finds life funny. He laughs because he finds life predictable. Pain taught him the rules of the game, and in his eyes, everyone else is still naive enough to believe the world is kind. So next time you witness someone breaking, don't ask, what's wrong with them? Ask, what happened to them that made pain feel like truth? Because trauma doesn't end when the event ends. It ends when someone helps you understand it. We love the idea of the lone madman. It comforts us. It isolates the darkness to one person, one mind, one name. If the villain is just an individual, then the rest of us are innocent. But reality is rarely that simple. Every villain is a social product, not created in a single moment, but shaped by 1,000 small ones. Tiny cuts that nobody sees until the final wound becomes a headline. Society doesn't build monsters through dramatic acts of cruelty. It builds them through neglect, through silence. through patterns so normal, we no longer recognize the damage they cause. So ask yourself, how much harm is done by people who believe they did nothing at all? A child laughed at for being different. A teenager ignored when they break down. An adult dismissed because their pain is inconvenient. These aren't isolated moments, they are repetitions. They echo through a lifetime. And here is the uncomfortable truth. We don't just punish vulnerability, we train people to hide it. We teach boys to be hard. We teach girls to be perfect. We teach everyone to compete for acceptance instead of earning it through compassion. When the broken try to speak, we tell them, others have it worse. When they cry for help, we say, you'll get over it. When they finally snap, we ask, how could they do something like this? We never ask the real question. What did we do through absence, through judgment, through silence that helped them get here? Blaming the villain absolves the crowd. It protects the illusion of normality. But if we look closer, we see that the match was just the final step. The fuel was already there, built by institutions, by culture, by the way we treat people who don't fit the script. The school that ignored the bullying, the workplace that mocked someone's differences, the community that never asked what someone was going through. All of them shape a mind that eventually breaks. Collective responsibility doesn't mean everyone caused the crime. It means everyone contributed, directly or indirectly, to the environment that allowed the pain to grow. So here is a question that tears down the illusion. If society celebrates the strong, who protects the fragile? A villain is never just one person. They are a mirror reflecting the fractures of the system that raised them. We look at the Joker and see chaos. We see violence. But rarely do we see everything that failed before the first crime was ever committed, because the villain holds the match. But society built the burnable world. This is not a call to blame ourselves for every tragedy. It is a reminder that empathy is prevention. Small acts of kindness are not insignificant. They are structural. They reinforce the belief that people belong, that someone cares, that pain has a place to be heard. The next time the world points at a villain and says, he did this, ask a deeper question. What did we miss? Who could we have saved? Because sometimes the crime is collective and the cure is compassion. We imagine heroes in capes, standing above the chaos, saving the world with dramatic gestures. But real heroes are rarely that loud. Most of them don't even call themselves heroes. They're ordinary people, doing quiet things that never make the news. If villains are shaped by 1,000 small wounds, then heroes are born from 1,000 small acts of empathy. The world wants clean stories, good versus evil, light versus darkness. But life is rarely that simple. For every villain society creates, there was a moment, sometimes a small one, where a different choice could have saved them. A moment of compassion, a moment of listening, a moment where someone cared enough to say, I see you. That is the core of healing, visibility. Not attention, not applause, just visibility. The Joker's story is tragic because the person who could have saved him didn't need to be a hero in the cinematic sense. They just needed to care. A neighbor, a friend, a stranger on the bus who didn't look away from the pain behind the smile. And here's the hard question. How many people right now are standing at the edge of themselves, waiting for someone to notice they're disappearing? We keep searching for heroes and dramatic gestures. But the greatest form of bravery in a world built on performance is authenticity. To sit with someone's pain without judging it. To ask a second question when they say, I'm fine. To make space for vulnerability in a culture that worships appearances. Healing is not a miracle, it's a practice. It's the slow work of reminding someone that suffering is survivable and that pain can have meaning beyond destruction. In psychological terms, it's called restoring connection. When someone feels seen, their identity reconnects with reality. The mask becomes unnecessary. The need for performance fades. Pain becomes a chapter, not the whole story. Here is a truth that often goes unnoticed. Compassion is contagious in the same way cruelty is. One act of kindness can ripple through a life like a shockwave, rewriting beliefs that once felt permanent. If society can create villains through neglect, then it can create heroes through empathy. So look around your life. Who is silent but clearly suffering? Who is smiling but hiding? who is laughing but hurting underneath. The cure isn't complex, it's presence, it's attention. It's the willingness to hear someone's story before judging their choices. Because judgment is easy, understanding is difficult. The final question is the one most people avoid. How many villains have we punished when what they truly needed was help? This is not a call to excuse actions or erase accountability. It's a reminder that behind every mask is a human being with a story. Behind every villain is someone who once wanted to belong. And behind every tragedy is a chance we didn't take. Heroes aren't born in shadows. They're born in compassion. And the greatest hero is the one who saves someone before they fall into darkness.